I struggle with a little bit with the immense levels of not historically
Oh,
anything.
you have to
I
totally
I
submit.
know, but I'm still like, "Ugh, no, they did not have necklines like that."
I think we're live.
Oh,
We're live.
we are
Oh,
live. Hello.
hello. Hello, we're talking about Bridgerton.
But yeah, it dropped last night, and Vicky was saying how she struggles with the historical inaccuracy. And I just said that's one of those things you just have to suspend it all and go with the story.
I know. I should be better at that.
I hear you. I hear you.
So we were talking not just about Bridgerton, but we were talking about memberships and are they always what you want to get people on? Because pretty
Unlimited
much,
membership.
yeah, unlimited membership. Pretty much most of the time, we do want to funnel people towards that, a membership, a recurring membership, um, giving you a balanced cash flow, giving you stability, all of that good stuff. But then Carrie mentioned, if the studio has a really small capacity, maybe that's not what you want to funnel people towards. So there's a few questions here in my mind. So first of all, what is a small capacity, and what are you going to funnel people towards if it's not the unlimited? And also, is it always true, or is it like yes in some cases, but in some cases not? So in my mind, small capacity was like 15 and below, maybe.
Yeah, I think we say, and I think we even have it in our opening a studio coaching program that a good capacity sustain, for building growth and stuff is like, I think it says, doesn't it say somewhere team like 20, 25 or so, 25 to 30 or something like that. I don't know why that number's sticking in my head, but it is. And to just sort of put an asterisk to what Vicky said is you still can have a membership that is a limited membership, right? So you can have those recurring 4 or 8 packs or whatever, or a 5 or a 10 pack, whatever it is. And I have a studio that does have a small capacity, and they're in Canada, and they do have, and this is what we've sort of arrived on after working together for a couple of years, and it's been very successful, is that there's a limited number of unlimited memberships, and they're actually at a premium.
That's
So
what I
it's
was thinking.
actually
Like
not,
you got to pay a high price to
have
get
to
that
pay a slightly,
unlimited.
yes, exactly. And then there's only a finite amount of them that they sell. And once they're like at that point, because obviously people, do cancel, but they have a fairly consistent, because people don't want to go off it if they like me having that, because they may not be able to get back on it right away. So there is something to be said for having, the supply and demand. And so then that only goes, I forget how many they sell, they only have, will maintain. And then when they do get a cancellation, they're like, hey, that's almost like this premium thing. It's like, hey, we now have an unlimited membership that's available. If you're wanting it, let us know right away or hop on it or something like that. So that can be a really interesting strategy. So that it's like, I think what I don't remember, it's off the top of my head, but whatever their recurring class card is, the one that we've worked is that's sort of the really good. I think it's the 8 class card, because that's the 2 times, well, 8 classes a month. That's the one that's sort of like the goal membership. And then they have another one, I can't remember what, but then the unlimited membership is almost, it's like exclusive, and it's a higher price point. You pay more per class. So that can be a really interesting strategy. If you have a smaller capacity, or even if you, I don't know, let's just sort of, break out, really think outside the box. What if for an unlimited membership, it was, even if you had a 45, 50 capacity? I don't know. What do you think? I mean, it's interesting thought.
Why would you want to limit it if you have capacity? Why
Have,
would you want to
no,
limit
no,
it?
having an unlimited, that's at a premium.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the
Right.
other way, the other way.
Hmm.
I don't know. You know, was it a couple of weeks ago when Josh was
But then you are limiting. So then you are like, okay, I'm pushing people towards the 8 classes per month. So then you are in a way
yeah.
encouraging them to limit their practice.
If
Do you really want to do that?
no, yes, no, you're right. That's about strike that. Thinking it through, maybe not such a good idea. Unless you included a bunch of stuff with it. Like,
I mean, like the priority booking for some people, I guess in the smaller studio situation would be the big one too. Like if your software allows that.
yeah.
That I think that would be kind of tricky. I don't know if there's a software that could say, you know, can you do like a
There's
booking
like pick
window
there's like
different?
the pick a spot. Could you limit that to
Uh,
certain people? Maybe.
I think you might be able to. I'm not sure, but I mean, those are certain things that you could explore. The other thing that you can do, again, towards membership, to really reinforce membership, again, the benefits of, and it could be either, limited or unlimited membership, is not in every software, but in some softwares, like MindBody, you could set up, and we're going to probably do this with one of my clients who has a studio, and it's just like, it's like consistently full on the weekend. It's like, and so to solve that, what we've talked about is you can set up a separate service category and put classes you want to restrict to members only in. Right. So you could, like, on a really popular class, like the really popular classes or the class times or whatever, you could, at least in MindBody, you could set up those classes in a separate service category. And then the only people that can book those classes then you assign what pricing option that supports that schedule. And in that case, you would just put the membership pricing options.
Would that mess with your reporting?
No,
No?
nope, wouldn't mess with your reporting. Yeah, no, it would, the only way it would potentially well, no, not really. The only thing that would, and you can run it twice if you wanted to, is, and when you're looking at, like first visits, because ideally you select a service category, and if you have multiple service categories, but you can run it. I have a client who does that. They have a couple different service categories, and we just run, and because certain reports in MindBody, you can't select multiple service categories. So then you just have to sort of run per service category. So no, it really doesn't mess with your reporting. And it can be, again, a really strategic way for membership. It's like, hey, you want to take these classes, you have to be on some type of membership package. So if a drop-in or class card, or and then even like ClassPass can't get in there. So there's ways you can do that too on your schedule.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm just thinking, like, really it would really be if capacity is an issue.
Mhm.
So if your studio is small and capacity isn't an issue,
Then you wouldn't do it.
you wouldn't really do it,
No.
right?
No, these are just things that if you are, if you are in either all the time or certain classes where you're consistently hitting capacity and having wait lists, and you want to find solutions for, okay, I want to make sure my members get in here. There are things you can do depending on the software, that you can set up. And it's like, hey, you want to be able to take these classes. This is the only membership that you can get on. And I think it really would be more in a smaller studio, or in a case where you have just a studio that has just, I mean, this studio that I'm talking about, it's 30 per, it's 30 capacity, which is a pretty good capacity. However, they do a really good job. They've got really good teachers, and people want to take those classes. And so
Yeah.
this, so yeah, that's the same thing. It's like, that's one way you can manage that and push the value of membership too. So there's the things you can add into value of membership that, are for things like that. And then obviously you can have things like events and workshops for members only as well. That's easy enough to set up too. So
And
just
the point is you still want to get people on something recurring. So it's not like,
yeah,
oh, let's just sell 10 packs. No, you still want people on a recurring membership.
yeah. That's why it's good to have some type of recurring class pack, whether it's a 4, 5, 8, and there's multiple ways you can set them up, right, Carol?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you could do, of course, we do some that are on the same date every month that you're going to get those class packs renewed. We never let them roll over. Classes do not roll over. And or you could do it, I know MindBody has the way where if you use the last class on the package, it'll automatically renew. So that's how we did it at our studio on our 5-pack at the time, recurring. And that worked really well and
Yeah.
people were into it, you know. So there might be months where somebody that is a consistent one time a weeker can get a couple more in, and hey, then they're re-upping a lot sooner, and that's better for the studio and for them to get in
Yeah.
more often, you know.
And there's also a strategy with what you just said there, Carol, is on a recurring pack. Like I had, it was, a lot of, I see 5 classes or 3 months, whichever comes first.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the option, like you said, is like it renews every 4 weeks. It's, let's say it really for like a 1 time a week practitioner, it's 4 classes, renews every 4 weeks, doesn't roll over. If they do all in 2 weeks, then their package doesn't renew for 2 more weeks. And then they either have to do a drop-in or do some other type of package. So that can also be one. So if someone's really up in their game, it's like, oh, wow, I keep running out using my classes before it expires. Maybe it'd be better for me
Might be time to
do the unlimited membership.
yeah.
So there's all kinds of ways you can look at. So when we talk about optimizing your pricing, it's really not just about what's the price going to be. It's like, what's the strategy behind the price and how do all the pricing work together to hit different types of populations, or like we like to say, different avatars, and making sure that you have something, or, it just depends or not. I have a client who is 100% membership. There is no drop-in. There is no class card.
So more than it being, yes, there should be something for not every avatar, but it's like your main client types.
Your main ones.
But what's trickier is though to pare it down and to be like, okay, what is the one thing that I'm gonna sell people, especially if you have this like premium and then you have an 8 class. Well, you have to decide which is like what's the main one. Is the premium the main one for us, or is it the 8 class?
Yeah.
There's got to be a client journey there that's set out that it's intro to 8 class or it's intro to premium. Like what does that studio do that you just mentioned, Terry?
Which they do their primary. Which one are we talking about?
So the one that you said, they have a premium membership that's unlimited, and then they have an 8 class membership. What's the goal? What's the goal here?
The goal is they have an intro offer, and then the goal is to get them on their, I forget what they call it, but it's the limited one.
8 class, yeah.
The 8 class.
Right.
Because right now their premium membership, they're full. Now, given that it's summer, they might have a few spots on it, but the premium membership is not available right now because they're at their maximum number of premium that they'll sell.
People.
Yeah. And since we put that into play, it really has helped, because before that, and because it was a smaller capacity studio, members were complaining because they couldn't get into, I have this unlimited membership and I can't get into class. Even like a 9:30 in the middle of the week, because again, it's a smaller class, a smaller capacity. So once we sort of settled on that and we worked through that, then it really did level off. And there hasn't been, still there's occasional complaints that they can't get into class. But it's really substantially reduced the number of complaints they got from members. So, and that's their strategy there. forget what their intros. I think their intro's 3 weeks. I can't remember. And then their upsell, what they go for on a regular basis, is their 8-pack. And then when a membership becomes available, the premium membership, they reach out to the people. First, they reach out to the people on the 8-pack and say, hey, look, we have 2 premium memberships available if you're interested to get, so they have a whole strategy around that. And it really doesn't take that much to manage. If you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is a huge thing to manage, it's really not, because they have the systems in place. We've got the systems in place to do it. So it's an interesting way, and it's worked for them. It's worked well for them.
So just thinking, like, what are some good, I mean, this sounds like a good way to manage a studio that's where it's like you're really lacking in capacity.
Yeah.
Would you then, so how to make that shift though? Would you, if you already, what you have right now is like you have unlimited and that's your gold membership, how do you do the shift? Would you then say that, okay, everyone on unlimited now, it's going to go up, or you're going to have just 8 classes and it's going to be the same? No?
Some of it
What would you
was, we optimized the prices, and we raised up the membership price, and that some people decided to cancel because they're like, I'm not coming enough. And then they went to
But you had the same structure.
We had the
So
same.
it was the 8 class and then the
Yeah,
unlimited.
right. But
Okay.
before they were
I'm talking about going from a situation where you don't have an 8 class, you have an unlimited.
You have an unlimited.
And, yeah. And
Put
then
in
you
an
want
8.
to have this. Yep. Move the people from unlimited to 8
Yeah. So
with the same price.
yeah, same strategy is have the 8-pack, and then you could raise up the whatever the unlimited is, and then have the 8-pack be, I forgot, it's been a while since we did it, but I think what we did was we kept the 8-pack just a little bit above what the price would have been if someone practiced 8 times a week on the, 8 times, yeah, 8 times a week on the unlimited, 8 times a month on the unlimited. That's where we sort of kept that price a little bit above that. And then we took the unlimited membership up. And then part of it was we explained, this is now, we're not, this is what we're doing. And some people went down to the 8, and the people that were on the unlimited stayed on the unlimited. And then, like I say, we cap it at the price, at the number of people, and that's it. And that they don't let anybody else, when they hit that cap, they stop selling the unlimited. And it's been an effective strategy for them. It really has. And I don't even think they have the 4. I can't remember. I'd have to look at the website. It's been a while since we looked at their pricing. But anyway, but I do know that they only have a couple of offers, and that's the key thing too. Only having a limited number of offers. I know. Carol, do you have any clients that are hitting capacity issues, and what's some of the things that they've been doing?
Not in the sense of like every class, but yeah, like you said, like there are certain weekend classes, even here in my home studio, there are certain classes that, well, first of all, the staff know they are not allowed to book. Like it's open for members first. So that's something you can do as the owner or, manager to say, hey, staff members, these are some of our popular times. You're not allowed to book until X amount of hours or minutes before to get in. And we just all kind of know that. And like at 10 a.m. on Saturday, I'm ready to book myself into my noon class,
Yeah.
And the other thing I think for some of those, well, I've coached some people too on certain classes like that. You may want to lower the online booking availability, right? And so you're kind of holding back a few spots where somebody that's at the front desk, or you see somebody on the wait list that is a regular that's on an unlimited, like you could book them in manually instead of like, the whole I don't know if it's an issue and certain members aren't able to get into classes. So if that makes sense, you kind of
It does.
hold
And
back.
it's that is something you could do. And cautionary tale is I did that initially when I was getting the point with, wait lists and all that kind of stuff. And I did that and people got wind of it. So then they'd be showing up at the studio wanting to see if they could get in. And I've said this before, my lobby was tiny. And, particularly in the winter, and people would be standing outside and, 30, 0 degrees Celsius, 30, freezing weather. And then they'd be disappointed when they couldn't get in the class. And also it just put a lot of pressure on my infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
It was really stressful. And it was stressful for me to have people looking at you, right? Am I going to get in? Am I going to get in? It's like, am I going to get in? Are we going? And then inevitably, well, we know we can squeeze some more people in, right? And then, for me, it just got to be problematic from that perspective. And so that's when I just went, this is the deal. When we're full, we're full.
Yeah, I mean, having that hard line from the beginning so that those expectations are, there isn't the expectation of, well, we can squeeze one more in, and also I guess I'm thinking more for like, if it's early enough, let's say it's 2 hours before and there's a wait list, but you have like 3 spots and you can see that there are, 3 members in there, like pop the members in
Oh,
so
yeah.
that they know, it's not like a at the last minute where we have those flex spots. I think flex spots are where it gets a little bit hairy right before class, and that's no fun.
That's where you want with the flex spots, for those of you not familiar with that term, is that's what we call it here in the YC. It's like, let's say your capacity, and this is specifically for yoga studios, obviously, and we have a studio called the Cycling Yogi that does yoga and spin. And so with a spin class, the number of bikes is the number of bikes. You're not going to whip in another bike. But we all know in a yoga class, if your capacity is 30, you could probably squeeze in a couple of more mats, right? But so what we recommend is that once you've figured out what your capacity is, have a few flex spots available, and which I did. And then the rules for that are those flex spots are for 2 things and 2 things only. It's for if a staff member wants to practice and the class is full, or if it's for the random first visitor who comes to your studio, did not sign up online, and you don't want to turn away but if a member shows up and you're at capacity, you don't use the flex spot for the member, because then you're just reinforcing bad behavior. It's like, oh, I know if I show up, there's always got a couple extra spots that they'll squeeze me in. And then I like what your studio, where you teach, Pure Hot Yoga St. Louis, is they have for the new people, a little sign that says reserved, and they have those on the space on the floor in the strategic spots. We all know there's the better spot in a room for a brand new person. And the first visit, the desk staff looks at the roster, right? Carol, tell us what happens with that.
Oh yeah. So of course we look for any first timers in our class, and then however many spots there are. And actually I kind of sometimes just put an extra one just in case, because we've had a lot of people just show up first time. But yeah, there's sort of a strategic placement in the room where we like to put first timers. So we have these little laminated stars and it says reserved, and we put those down before class even starts or opens up for check-in, so that we can, as we're doing our first visit flow, and we can direct them to, I've actually reserved a spot for you. And it kind of feels very concierge and like special. But it's more for like, not the coolest spot, but like a place where I can have a good eye on them. The teacher always kind of knows where they are in the room. It might be a little less intense in that area. And yeah, so that's how we handle the first time spots.
I love
that. Yeah, and I like it too. It's really helpful.
Yeah, I wish I had done that. I think that's a brilliant. We would have people call and say, "Oh, I'm running." Unfortunately, my policy was until COVID is that we did let people in after class started, And we just said, running late, because we left our door open so people could come in. And then if someone was running late, we'd go in and put a mat down for them. And we had those, we would put some mats down. We always had those at the back, right by the door, so they didn't, come in and disrupt the rest of the class. But that was one silver lining for me, because I wanted to change that, but it was so ingrained in the culture of the studio from the previous owner. And I was like, and then when COVID came, I'm like, and we did reopen. I was like, oh, great. Now I can make that change and say, oh, sorry, now the class is door's going to be locked, no late admittance, da, 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 da. And I'm like, that was one little silver lining for me for the pandemic, was I was able to change that policy. I mean, I had people come in at Eagle and, 15, 20 minutes in the class, and we'd let them in. That was the way, I would do it differently now, but that's the way it was.
Yeah, it's not always easy to take that fight if it's been really ingrained.
Yeah.
And depending on the layout of a studio, there are some studios where, all the students can hear someone if they're banging on the door and causing a scene. So
Yeah.
then it's really hard to stick to your guns then.
And we did put, if the class was full and someone hadn't, and they arrived and they weren't registered for class, we did have, and this is something, it might not prevent people from banging on the door, but at least it could, is having a sign that said, sorry, class is in session, please do not bang on the door, or something like that. And just, put it up there. Again, it might not help that persistent person, but it probably would help the polite people like myself. I would never think of banging on a door. Never.
So I just recently had somebody just stare at me, and they stared, and I was like, yeah, clearly class is going on. Like, what am I supposed to do? And she stayed there and I think got the time wrong of the class. And we do have a sign, just like you said, like class is in session. But I was like, what am I? And she just stayed there it felt like forever.
This is a really good topic to make at least one funny reel about.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can see.
That's
people who don't read your emails that you send out and who don't listen, they might see that reel. And then they'll be like, oh my God, that was me. I was like pressing my nose up against that.
Yeah. Although I typically, don't you think that typically when you make a reel about a certain thing, that the people who do that thing will not identify with the reel?
Possibly.
But no,
I don't know if they recognize that nose.
Well, and like in my studio, because Carol, the Pure Hot is the same way, is they're in strip malls. And so there's windows in the studio that are blocked, but I would have people like banging on the windows to the hot room. Now, fortunately, you couldn't see, you couldn't see into the hot room, but you could see the shadow, and and it was, oh my gosh, it was just like, but that's where you have your policies. You define your policies and you stick to your policies and you communicate your policies. And it's like, they're like toddlers and teenagers. They're going to try to push that line and push that line. And, sometimes it's just, if they don't get it and they quit, they quit. If we're bending and I don't know about you guys, but it always seemed it was always the same few people that were the problems. And if that's the case, maybe it's like, hey, this isn't the studio. And we were in Vermont last week, Carol and I, at an on-site, and the owner there says she has exited. It's like, well, maybe this just isn't the studio for you. And I love that, because that's, again, standing in, it's kind of like we talk about in the sales training, standing in confidence that you can sell a yoga pass. It's like standing in confidence behind your policies, that they're there for a reason. And if someone's not going to respect them, then do you even want them in your community? I love that. It's just like, well, maybe this is just straight up say, well, maybe this isn't the community for you. Very respectfully, no judgment. Just this may not be the place for you.
If people are causing more problems than they were,
would you like me to cancel your membership? Right? Would you like me to, maybe this isn't like, would you like me to cancel your membership?
Oh, we would just say we are canceling your membership.
Yeah.
You know, we are
Well, if they're
canceling your
real
membership.
extreme, obviously
Yeah,
if you've done something really not
yeah,
so good. But yeah, if they're just
yeah.
being a pest about something, I don't know. But again, going back to, that's why it's important to have clearly defined policies that
Yes.
are there, that are written, that are communicated, that are on your website. And but not all the etiquettes with all the posters of the do's and the don'ts, though. We don't want to go that far. Anyway. Oh my gosh, this is a great, we could keep going on and on about this. Let's shift gears for a second. So I know last week we talked about, oh, it was so frustrating that I was on my headset at the airport and I couldn't talk for some reason. It was so frustrating. And Josh was like, well, maybe you should do this to Terry all the time. I recently received an email from I'm on a lot of people's emails list, as I'm sure we all are, to different yoga studios and stuff. And one of my clients, Kristen Sapp at Orange Lotus Yoga in Exton, Pennsylvania, she just recently sent out an email, which I thought was brilliant. It was about the benefits of practicing in the summer. And I just thought it was a really great email for a couple of reasons. One, the email had one point. I still get emails from studios that are like War and Peace, right? They have 6, 8, 10 topics that they're trying to cover. It's just super duper long. So good email practices, one topic. It was short, while it was punchy. It communicated what she wanted to communicate it in a fun way, and it wasn't word dense. It was it was short sentences, bullet point lists. And as we talk about it, there weren't any SAT words, there weren't any cursive knowledge words. So that, again, we talk about a lot, is people scan. And so we want to make our messages so that someone can scan it and absorb it quickly, which means you want to write it at a third to fifth grade reading level, so that people can easily find the words, find the point, and move on. Because I also just read a study about the decrease of our attention spans in the last several decades, particularly with the advent of social media. Our attention span is now like, it was like up, it used to be like over a couple, 3 decades, it used to be like over 2 minutes or whatever. Now it's down to like 47 seconds. So that's the other thing you want to, if it's too dense, people are going to bail. They're not going to make it to the 10th thing on your email. So better to send 10 separate emails over a period of time than send one email data dump a month.
Thank you, Terry. I love this topic because same, I feel like I'm on a lot of email lists and some of them I'm like, what are you doing? What are you trying to convey? I've seen somewhere it's like the 10 different events coming up in the next 3 months. Like that's not, I need to know what's the next thing I need to know. What time is it? What do I want? It goes back kind of to the webinar I did about the website, where it's like, what is it? Why do I want it? How do I get it? And it should be really succinct and straightforward. And I mean, it's difficult to go see like every little thing about, I'm not going to go look at the 10 different things, like you said, just drip it out over time. This actually goes to studio announcements too. I think in studio, because I've been to some places where it's like, there's this happening and that and the other thing and this, and it's like, I thought we were going to take a yoga class today.
Oh yeah,
So
that's a good point.
keep the one thing that they need to know about that's coming up right away, and how do they get to know more? That's all you need to do.
Yeah, because you can have like all the upcoming announcements on a poster or a board or something like that. So if someone wants to stand there and read, hey, here are the upcoming events for the summer. There's this, blah, blah, blah. But you're right. It's like, okay, what are we promoting? The thing that's next. And the same thing with an email. You can say, hey, click here we have all kinds of events happening. Click here for our full event calendar, right? So you can always have that at the bottom of a message, and you see that a lot. I just got a message. I'm now on an email list. It's called Adventure Women. It's really cool. So yeah. So they've been around for 20. It's a travel group, and they do adventure travel, meaning they're like, you go on cruises and then you hike, or you you go zip lining, or you canoe, or you paddleboard, or you do all these kind of cool things. And it's women only, so that if you want to travel solo as a woman, it's like you're in another group, and they're smaller groups. I think the max they have is like 8 to 10 people. And so it's a very highly curated experience. And so now I'm on their email newsletter, and I just got one today about, hey, we've added these 2 trips for next year, and check it. And one of them was actually to my old hometown, Monterey. They're going to Yosemite, Monterey, and Big Sur. I'm like, of course I'm going to check that out. But anyway, but I love their emails because that exactly what Carol said. And then they always have, for a complete list, click here. And then you go out to the complete list on their website. So yeah. So benefits of summer practice. What are the benefits of summer practice? Are you advertising it? Are you putting it out there?
Part of me does wonder though, is it like mentioning the thing that you shouldn't think about?
Meaning,
Meaning, does it make me think, oh yeah, well, it's not good, it's not going to maybe change my behavior, but inadvertently, is it saying that people are not practicing in summer? I mean, I'm sure the email was really great and everything, and it named all the reasons why summer practice is awesome. But the title itself makes me think that it's just another version of people don't do yoga in summer.
well, that's a good point. I can forward you the email and see what you think about it, but I didn't take it that way. I'm like, wow, I want to practice more in the summer.
Yeah. What was the biggest reason? What was the biggest why you should practice?
Be consistent in your practice. And also it's, you might want to check out a morning class because it's lighter out in the morning and you can get up earlier. Talking about, it was your flexibility. It's things I used to talk about, that you're more naturally warm when you come to class. So you're flexible. It's a good time to like work on your flexibility because your body's more naturally warm. And I can't remember the other thing. There was one other thing that was like really cool.
Yeah. No, those are all good reasons.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go work on my flexibility now.
You're gonna go work on your flexibility class?
It's really warm. I'm gonna go take a class. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Vicki. Have a great weekend. We'll see you
too.
at NYC.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye, Vicki. Yeah, I mean, we always were, well, when we started to shift our focus on that, like, yes, we can keep people through the summer. That was one of our strategies, is like posting and talking about like why we enjoy practicing in the summer. And I kind of think it's kind of the same, like, why do I practice in the winter? You could do it for all seasons, really.
Yeah.
And I would bring up things in the spring. Sometimes that was like, I would tell my classes, it might be more challenging. I find the spring and the fall to be challenging because I would talk about hydration, because one day here in St. Louis, one day it might be 50 degrees and the next day it's 75 or close to 80, and you're like out in the garden and all of a sudden you haven't hydrated enough.
Right.
So I would kind of let people know to almost create consciousness about your hydration and how the hot yoga you're gonna feel different if you're not hydrating enough and that kind of thing. So I feel like I get what Vicki's saying and I can appreciate that. Like, we don't want to draw attention to the thing, by talking about it.
We don't want to draw attention to the thing we'll talk about, and at the same time, it's a thing that happens.
Yeah.
Particularly in this country, I don't know about Europe and stuff, but particularly in this country, because we're still, even though we're not an agricultural society anymore, we're still really the school system is still basically September or August through, it's like the summer vacation. And we had that growing up. And this is just me ranting. I have no idea if there's any scientific or proof on this, but I do sense that even for adults, when we get to summer, there's a lightening and an easing. It's like, the end of school and we're going to have summer vacation. I think part of it is the days are definitely longer. There's more light. So if you do get up, it's, 6 o'clock in the morning, it's light out. Or you can do like here, because I'm on the western edge of the Eastern time zone. If you go just, another 40 miles west, you're in Central Time, which means in this height of summer in Dayton, it is still, the sun has not set at 9:30 at night. It's low on the horizon because we're so far west in the time zone. So I think that's part of it too. It's just our biological clocks are changing and seem to have more energy because of the light out. We do want to more hibernate in the wintertime and conserve our fuel to keep us warm and all that stuff. So I think a lot of it just goes back to that partly. It's just this whole summer school or summer vacation mode. And people are traveling. That's the other thing. Oh, I'll cancel my membership because I'm traveling. But oh, well, wait a second. I don't need to cancel it. I'll just, I'm still going enough that if I go away for a couple of weeks, it's no big deal.
Or it's a good reminder if you still have on demand or any sort
Yep.
of, like, hey, that's part of your membership. And
Yep.
so keep practicing.
Yeah, Orange
No.
Lotus, they call it Orange Lotus Anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
available to all, it's a perk of the membership. So it did mention that, hey, don't forget if you're traveling, make sure you, check in with our Orange Lotus Anywhere. If you're a member, it's included in your membership. If you're not, you can get it for whatever a month, but no contract, that type of thing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes there is something about addressing the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we definitely, we, like I said, we would sort of talk about the things that, the reasons why we enjoy practicing in the summer. And we always had a summer challenge, the point being to stay consistent.
Yeah.
I mean, that was bottom line. All we wanted to do was make sure people stayed consistent during the summer at whatever level worked for them. I'm sure I've talked about this before, but it was called the Summer 11 Challenge. And you could choose either 15 classes, 25 classes, or 40. And you're just from June 1st to August 31st, like choose your card, whatever level that is. People love star stickers.
Oh yeah. Those stickers in general. I had on my challenges,
happy faces.
I would go and get like different like ice cream stickers and this sticker and this sticker.
Yeah.
People would be like fighting over stickers. This is where we really are never progressed beyond kindergarten.
It's true. It's true. But yeah, I mean, that was just the main goal. And the 15, 25, and 40 correlated roughly to 1 time, 2 time, or 3 times a week. So depending on what level. And, people would really get into it. And even if they're going out of town, they've got to make up those extra couple of classes here and there. And it was all about consistency.
Yeah. I love that Summer 11 challenge.
Summer 11. Yeah.
I have a couple of clients that are going to do a take on the Share the Love
over the summer.
Yeah, we're calling it Summer 11.
Nice.
Yeah. So and if you don't know what we're talking, so a lot of people know, I see like in the February did what they called the Share the Love campaign, where it was an internal lead generation. That would be the best way to describe it, right?
Yeah.
Internal lead generation, where they had your studio did it. Well, tell us what your studio did.
So basically, we had cards made up, little postcards that share the love. It had a place to put the current member's name down on it, QR code for somebody that's new to purchase a free week. And so everybody in studio, it didn't matter if you were a member or not, take as many of these cards as you like and give them out to people so that they could experience a free week of classes at our studio. It had to be redeemed by the end of the month. And, at the end, the current student's name was put on this card, and those entries became entries basically into a drawing for this huge basket of goodies.
Yeah, I saw that basket.
Yeah.
It was a great basket of goodies.
Yeah, it was over $500 worth of items. And, the new people coming in on the Share the Love also could take cards. And what ended up happening was, I think one of the people who came in also won the basket because she gave out. So it just became this sort of like really big, lead gen, internal lead gen that was a great boost for the studio. I think Ellen got like something like 50 plus new members over that month.
The other client who did it got like almost 60 new members that month.
Yeah.
So take on that, do it in the summertime, and call it Summer Lovin'.
Yep.
And one of my clients was, you bet I'm going to be Summer Lovin', had me a blast. I said, I am totally going to riff off of Olivia and John Travolta in that. So anyway, so that's a fun thing you do. But yeah, what are you doing to keep engagement up? Because remember, I know we've talked about this multiple times. Decreased attendance does not necessarily have to equate decreased revenue. So if you can shift your mindset on that thing, it makes a huge, huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think naturally attendance tapers off slightly, and it doesn't have to mean less revenue. And what are you doing? And this is a good time, again, because we have this thing like, oh, summer is more vacation time. What are you doing? It's a good time to maybe build out your retention campaign. And I've got clients working on building out 2-year member retention campaigns in their marketing automation, right? So once somebody gets dropped in on the membership, obviously the trigger is when they buy the membership, they get into the campaign. If they cancel, they get pulled out of the campaign. But then it's just like dripping out emails to keep people engaged. And things like, and just value added things and this is where you can put testimony. This is a great place to put testimonials in from a long time, someone who's been practicing for a couple of years, right? And how has yoga impacted their lives? What have they noticed the changes in their consistent practice, right? To get people into that phase of really making it part of who they are. I don't think we've mentioned this in a long while, is there is a psychological shift that happens for people. And it's about 18 to 24 months when they're doing something consistently. And the shift is what it becomes is whatever they're doing becomes part of their identity. So instead of I take yoga classes, I'm a yogini, or I run marathons, I'm a marathoner. Right there, it becomes part of their ID. And then those are the folks that will be probably with you till the end of time. They might go away for a little bit, but they will always come back because that's how they sell. That's part of their brand DNA. So, and how do we do that? We got to keep dripping out information. Yes, taking class and stuff, but just reminding them. Reminding them, hey, do you remember? Don't forget, like to Kristen's point, don't forget Orange Lotus Anywhere is part of your membership. Hey, don't forget, as a member, you get priority booking, like particularly if you're getting into the busy season. Hey, don't forget, you get this, just to remind them, hey, here's just simple things. Yeah, just what are you doing to get that? Because that is long-term retention strategy.
That's something I didn't realize that I needed to tell people more than once. Until maybe because I have a kid now, it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna tell people, like you said, toddlers and teenagers, like it's okay to remind them. And I think that's an important piece of, reminding them of the value that you're providing. And, like you said, sort of looking back and see how far you've come. That's a big piece of it. But yeah, I didn't realize, it took me a while to recognize, you can keep telling them sort of this, they need to hear the same message a few times and from different ways. And of course, not hammering it home, but it's okay to repeat yourself and talk about hydration, talk about these other, I don't know, things that I would think one time is enough, but it's not. You're always going to have new people, new eyes, hearing
and
something more than
forget,
once. They forget.
You sent an email out about something and I didn't read it.
Yep.
Right. Yep. And so it's like, well, how many impressions does it? It's like 30 or more impressions seeing an ad before someone might even click on it. Right. So that's why it's the consistency. I mean, we see it like, oh, I tried that and it didn't work.
Tried it once.
I tried it once. And how long did you try it? Oh, I tried it for a couple of weeks.
It's not,
That's not, and here's another thought too. I'll just throw this out for summer. Remember, an intro offer is just that. It's an intro offer. And while you don't want to be, to what I just said, you don't want to be changing your intro offer every couple of months. However, summer could be a time to try a different intro offer. Shake it up a little bit. Because remember, it's an intro offer. It's for new people coming in. Right? So it doesn't always have to be the same thing. You want the goal to be, it's like, what's the hook? Why would I want it? And then what is the goal? Getting them on whatever the goal membership is for your studio. But you can switch up how you get people there. And summer can be a good time to trial that. Now, keep in mind, there is work that needs to be done. You got to, recreate some certain things, but when you get that done, and then you can try that for 3 months, 4 months, and track the results on it. So while you don't want to be changing your intro offer like every other month, you can change it up.
Yeah, that's a good point, Terry.
Um,
Yeah, I also, before I forget, because I wanted to go back to the long-term retention, because that is really important. One of the things that we found, like, in addition to adding value and reminding them of the membership benefits and how far they've come, I remember being on the studio owner side and watching one of these webinars through the YC, and they talked about just doing a reach out that's like, it sounds like it came from a friend, that's just like, hey, Terry, you know what? We think you're the bee's knees. See you next class. Like that kind of like just something that you would possibly text to a friend, or like there's not a logo at the top. It was literally just a friendly email that we would send out to members like every quarter. And there's no sales pitch. There's nothing more than just, we are reaching out because we appreciate you and we think you're really cool. And the number of responses that we would get from something like that, like it was super simple, easy, and connected with the people. And so I don't know, that could be another like part of the long-term retention.
Because I do know, like, I'm not, and some of the softwares, the marketing automation softwares, you can send plain emails as opposed to like the full branded email. And that would be, hey, hey, Carrie, and just have it be from you. And there's, like you said, there's no branding, there's no call to action. It's just, we appreciate you. We're so happy you're here.
That lands
with people. And kind of going back to like if you are going to do a challenge or something like this, I did this with the last couple of challenges I did. And so what you just pointed out was a huge success. I was using Brandbot. I set up just a text campaign during the challenge, not an email campaign. So just a text campaign. And it's like, hey, you're crushing the challenge. You're halfway through. It was I forget, it was a 30-day challenge. And I had like 4 texts go out over the 30 days, like each week. And that same thing got tons of positive. Are you hitting your goal? Keep going kind of thing, just sort of like, checking in, rah kind of things. And the responses we got, same thing. It blew me away how many people responded to those simple little texts that went out once a week. So keep that in mind too with some of this retention tactics. It can be very, very simple. It just is a reminder of who we are. And I said this a while back, and depending on how many members you have, it could be a big one, but people don't get snail mail anymore. And if you get their addresses, or even if you have it at the front desk, I know one of our clients, Interfire, they do it now, and they just have them at the front desk. And then like it's addressed to the person, because nowadays most people don't have people's addresses in their systems. And then when they come in, they hand it to the person. If you have their address, physical address, you can, actually send them snail mail. So this is all part of a member nurture campaign. It can also be phone calls. Kind of similar to what Carol said. What if at month 6, you pick up the phone and say, hey, this is Terry from the Hot Yoga Factory. That used to be my studio name. I'm just calling to say it's so awesome having you as a member of our community. We really appreciate you. Thanks for showing up on your mat. I'm always here if you have any questions, because 90% of the time you get voicemail anyway. And again, same thing. I just had it set up. Okay, today, these are the calls I have to make. And it was never more than a couple a day. And sometimes I'd go days without it. So that's another thing you can do. We got to think not just all too often, I think we spend so much time in that, whether it's direct to membership or intro offer, getting everything dialed in for that first or second month, but then
And then nothing.
nothing. So that's where you got to get those set up. Absolutely. Get that stuff, get that shit set up first. That's so
Oh yeah.
Then you just start adding to it.
Mhm.
You just
Yeah.
build it out. Maybe the goal is in 6 months, I have a 2-year campaign built out. I'm just going to do I'm going to add in 2 messages a month kind of thing. So don't think you have to, like I had one client was so stressed. I'm like, you don't have to have all of them written right now because this is way out in the future. Let's just get the first 3 set up. And then she's like, oh, wow, you're right. We don't, I said, remember, once we launch this, it's going to be 18 months, like, oh yeah. So if you just set it up a little bit at a time within 6 months or so or less, you could have a full 2-year member nurture campaign set up. You can add a little video. I mean, you can get really, really creative and do some really fun things on that. Yeah, just some ideas. And if things are a little slower in attendance wise, and you find these are the type of things you can really brainstorm on in the summertime and get some of that, create some time and space in your calendar where you can sit down and start getting these things, done.
Well, and I would also encourage, if it is a little slower, if you haven't taken a day off,
take it. Yeah.
Take time off.
Yeah.
Like you deserve that as a studio owner. It's a grind sometimes if you don't really have a lot of systems in place or you don't feel supported by your team. You don't get a coach because we can help with that. But also it doesn't have to be 24/7. Like please, take a beat, take a breath. This might be a good time for you to just rejuvenate and get, centered and focused and get back to it.
I'll throw this out too. If you don't have a lot of support, maybe you're in a newer studio or something like that, and you're teaching a ton of classes, here's the thing. Again, summertime vacation, if you need to, cancel a couple of days of classes. And just say, hey, and you can making it work-life balance. The studio is going to be closed for this 3 days or 2 days or even a day. And while we all just do our own thing, we appreciate da. I mean, I don't think, and then actually, 4th of July is a good time to do that too, because a lot of people, I know in New England, everybody, I mean, it's like left town. Everybody went to Cape Cod over 4th of July, and so I just was like, you know what, 4th of July, we're closing. We're just closing the 4th of July, and so that, I mean, you can look at winter times that you can close, and maybe if you're just completely overwhelmed, is take a just say the studio's closed. I had a client in down south, and they actually only had they had Sunday, day of rest. Studio wasn't opened. They never had classes on Sunday, and they did just fine.
And when we first opened, we didn't have classes on Thursdays. I know it sounds really random, but we had gathered from the previous studio experience that was a really slow day. Okay. And we knew it was only going to be 2 of us running the studio in the beginning. Yep. And so we just had Thursdays off, and that's what it was.
Yeah. A lot of restaurants are closed. That's why a lot of restaurants are closed on Monday.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like the key is you don't check email.
Yep.
You don't take, it's not a day to get other things done.
Yes.
Like for the studio, this needs to be truly a break.
A day of rest. Yeah.
So.
And that's the day where, I was just told one client, he said, well, they're texting. I'm like, well, first off, they should be slacking you, not texting you. And then, okay, turn your phone off.
Yeah. If it's really that important, somebody will knock on your door or whatever it is.
I mean, it's
they'll find you, but
yeah, it's just like turn your phone off.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the worst? Sorry, I hate to say it, but in a hot studio, if something happens with the heat or humidity, you could still have class. People might be irritated, but you say, hey, look, we have this problem. Yep, we don't have heat today. We're just going to work real hard and still have fun. While we wait to get it fixed, right? It's like nobody's going to die because of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is where establishing boundaries, this is where establishing process, this is all what helps you as a entrepreneur, a yogapreneur as well. And that's where our SOS boot camp comes in.
Yep.
You want to
That's
talk
a good one.
you want to talk real quick
Yeah.
about SOS boot camp?
SOS boot camp. Did we name it Save Our Studio or Save
Well,
Our
it's
Shitter?
Save Our Studio, but
or
or
studio operating systems, you know,
Studio
but yeah.
Operations is the official name, but I like to call it Save Our Shit.
I knew that was in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so this is a boot camp where we get in there, the team arrives at your studio, we start to dig into your tech stack, and meaning, you know, do you have proper communications set in place? Do you have a storage system in place for your
Documents.
all the documents and things? Yeah. Do you have a proper task management system? You know, how are your SOPs looking? And who is doing what in your business? Because more times than not, we see the studio owner doing too much and they need to sort of get to the level of the visionary. And so they need to have people under them doing more. So you learn to work on your business and not in your business. And so,
and one thing I want to point out about that
mm-hmm.
too is even if right now you still, because just for whatever you have to do those roles, it's still beneficial to have those roles defined,
Mm-hmm.
because then, you know, as the business grows, you know, we can help you identify which are the key positions that need to be filled next.
Mm-hmm.
And then that way it's all ready to go. And the other thing I really like, because I helped out with the first SOS back in April, at one of my clients, is looking at what I really liked about it too, is like, okay, here's the role. And then what are the KPIs associated with, what are the key KPIs associated, key performance indicators associated with that role that tells whether or not that person is successful in the role, which I really love. So it wasn't just here's the role. It's like, okay, here's the role. This is what they're responsible for. And these are the KPIs that tell us, are they being successful in that role? So again, if you're not quite ready, let's say, to hire a studio manager or operations manager, you have it at least mapped out and you know what it is, you know what the role is, and you know what are the things that are accountable for. And if you're in that role right now, then you know what you need to be doing in that role. So it's also giving you a clear path to, okay, now I know when I'm in this role, this is what I'm working on, and these are the metrics of success that tell me that I'm in the right direction. So instead of just like throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing, okay, what sticks and where do I need to go and how do I fix this? It's giving a very formalized structure so that as you grow and need to add resources, you know exactly where to plug people in, which I thought was like, wow, that was just like for me. Yeah, that was a
Yeah,
really good one.
it's a super powerful boot camp, and can really change the whole. I think as a studio owner, you need to have that look at it because it's really easy to get down into the trenches and only see like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, but how do I hire somebody to do that? Well, if we pull back and look at the big picture, you know, it's easier to see those roles defined and, like you said, the KPIs that are associated.
That was a big one for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you really want to get your 2025 dialed in,
Summit.
the summit is live, and for us, we're selling the summit. And this year, which is really exciting, we still have a couple of VIP spots left. And what the VIP spot is, just like it sounds, you get everything included. You don't, it's like round trip airport transport, you get lodging, you get all your meals, you get meals out with the team, you get what we call the GSD day, the last extra day, which is the get shit done day. So you get that full meal. It's the full meal deal. I have a couple of those spots left. You can either do a private room or you can do a shared room. And then this year we have the option for the first time, which I'm super excited about, is we have just the business labs only. We call them the business labs. That's where we're really working on your goals and strategies and things like that. So if you want to just do it super affordable, or you want to stay offsite property, you just pay for the business labs. And then there's lots of Airbnbs in Salulita. So then you book your own accommodations and all that, and you just come for the labs. And in the business, if you just sign up for the business labs, you get lunch, snacks, and you get the excursions. We have a couple of excursions, so that is included. It's all on the website. There's marriages posted in the YC yesterday. The links are there. It's really fun. It's hashtag work hard, play hard, and it's not a vacation as such, because you are working. We're working very hard for a set amount of time, doing like we like to call deep focus work, and then we're done. And then we have some fun. And when you leave at the end of the week, and it is the week in the States, it's election week. So if you do come, make sure you vote early. Vote early and vote often. Maybe we shouldn't say that. Vote early, vote often. It is the week of, kicks off November 3rd. So it's the 3rd through the 7th. And then if you're staying the extra day, it's the 3rd through the 8th. So you can mark your calendar. Plenty of time to get things organized at your home studio where you're coming from. And at the end of the week, you will leave with your 2025 plan in place. How cool would it be going into the holidays that your whole 2025 is mapped out?
And I think it's important to note that it's not just lectures and you taking notes on things. This is like about putting a plan in place, knowing what tasks are associated with creating, what do you need to do to achieve those plans or the goals that you've set. And there we go. Whole workbook. It is a working, like Terry said, work hard, play hard, but it's really, you get so much done in that week. And all the people that came last year, I mean, they are really, we keep going, like I'm coaching a lot of the people that, I know you are too, that were at the last one. And we just keep going back. Okay, what are the 3 dominoes? What are we working on? Okay, are we still, it makes it so clear what you should be focused on for the year, because you've already identified.
You've identified it. That's what we spend, is we identify we call them the dominoes, like what has to go. It's like 1, 2, 3. So these are the 3 things that have to happen in order for us to achieve where we want to go. And then it's like, and we don't let you leave until those, I mean, if you're struggling, if you look at any of our Instagram, you look on the website or on the page, you'll see pictures of us, the coaches. We are there with you. It's like, okay, let's do this. Because I don't know how it's going to be this year, and we might still have it, but last couple of years, we've always had what's called pool time in the afternoon, right? So once we're officially done for the day, we have lunch, but last year we wrapped up at lunchtime, basically, had lunch, and then it was up to you what you want to do, but we also every day had pool time, and pool time is where all the coaches were there. And if you wanted to continue working, you bring your workbook, bring your laptop, and we'd be sitting there at the pool or in the lounge or in the area with the tables, and we'd be working on stuff, right? So it wasn't like a lot of places where you go and you're just lectured at and you take notes and then you leave and you're like, oh God, how do I implement all this stuff?
Yeah. I have so much information. Now what do I do with it?
Now what do I do with it?
And it's like, that's not this. This
is not this. Yes, there's information, and you will know what to do with it by the end of the week. Right. And then there's so there's a lot that goes into it. So it like I said, it's work hard, play hard. And we have over 50% repeat every year. And I should just share, I was just doing some numbers, I'm going to share this out to you guys, I looked at people who attended last year and pulled their numbers. And for the first 6 months, previous 6 months, from December through yesterday, last year versus this year, the average they're up is 33.47%. And this includes small studios, multi-location studios, newer studios that have been in business for 20 years. It runs sort of the gamut. I think that the mean, those of you remember if you took I never really took statistics, but if you remember statistics, so the average is added up, divided by the number. The mean is the one that's right in the middle, right? So the mean average for that group was 27%. So it's you get shit done.
Yeah.
And the shit
And you see the results.
and you
Yeah.
see the results. This is not bullshit.
Yeah. Well, and I think, if anyone, I think the possibility to say offsite this year is also like makes it maybe a little more affordable for some people. And so if cost is a factor, like just know people that are going again are seeing results. You're gonna make that back. Yeah.
Oh, I bet you I can look at any one of these and tell you that they paid for that on-site probably in the first couple of months and increased sales.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reward comes back really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like a couple of my clients that know each other, they're all renting an Airbnb and sharing the cost of the Airbnb. So, you can, if you have someone, that you want to bring, you can maybe, that way you can, get creative with that. Oh, and the other thing we should mention is this year also, we're having, tell them about that, Carol.
I think you're going to talk about the manager track.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So a lot of the studio owners will bring a manager with them or two, however many. And, in the past, the labs have included everybody, but we recognize that there might be some information that maybe the owner doesn't want to share with the manager, or there's just some other things that we can focus on with the managers alone that could help, kind of like the SOS, like systems wise, we can get them working on that. And then the owner could be in a different business lab with having that more higher level vision is how I understand it. Does that sound right, Terry?
Yeah. And it's not like you're going to be separated the whole time. It's just like we'll have sessions where everybody's together, but then we'll have specific sessions that just for business, but just for the managers. And it doesn't, even if that you don't have a position in the title of manager, right? Maybe they're just an assistant or something like that. It's like, we're going to be talking more about systems things that would be more management and then in the visionary would be the owner. So so even if you don't know, you have a key employee, a lot of studio owners will have key staff, but they're not managers. Doesn't matter. Don't let that, say, they're not managers. If they are involved in the business at a level of responsibility beyond just teaching or just working the front desk, maybe they do the front desk and some other things, and you want to bring them along. Also a great opportunity for staff development. Right? So maybe if you have a key person in a position that's doing several different jobs, this is a way to invest in them and help retain employees or staff and help build staff up to help support you. It's the start of building your leadership team. So that's an option this year as well. So we have the business owner track, the manager's track. There is some overlap there, but there'll be specific things just for that support staff position. So definitely sign up now, get the deposit in, so you secure your spot, particularly if you want to stay. We only have a few spots left to stay on site at Ximena, where we're staying this year. So check that out. I'll repost the link to the web page where all that stuff is laid out. So you could check it out. If you have any questions, you can post in the comments below. You can always DM any one of us about it. And we can have someone on our team. We have Maria as a new team member, and she is tasked with helping sell out the summit. And so we can always set you up with Maria. If you have any particular questions about anything, she can be there to support you and get those answers for you. All right. So I think, well, Carol, we went an hour today.
I know.
Impressive. We're getting good at this.
I know, right?
Right. Okay.
Well, yeah.
Hey. And speaking of retention, we appreciate you.
Right. We appreciate everyone in the YC.
Everyone in the YC.
Sticking in here, watching us ramble on for an hour.
Ramble on, and also just what you do in your communities. You know, we're trying to be I mean, everybody, regardless of what you're doing, you're trying to be impactful in your communities, right? You're working to make a more positive experience for your family, for your staff, for their family, for your clients, for your community. And, you know, I do believe this. I firmly believe that the things that you do and that we help support you do changes people's lives. And when we change people's life and we impact them positively, it's the pebble in the pond. It's the butterfly effect. It just spreads out. And, you know, we need that. We need that now more than ever. So keep
Well
doing
said,
what you're doing.
Terry. That's
Yeah.
right.
Keep doing what you're doing. There's a reason why, and you're doing meaningful work. Really, really meaningful work. So big love to everybody out there who's watching. Big love to you, Carol. I appreciate you. I got to
Appreciate you, Terry. I know.
We got to hang out in real life last week, which was super fun.
That's right. I know.
And yeah, all right. Post below, comments, questions, agree, disagree. We're here again. If you don't have a one-on-one coach, sign up for a free coaching call, or you can always go to the website and book a one-off call. We are always available. If you just want help with a couple of things, you're like, I'm not ready for full-on coaching, you can book a coaching call at any time with any one of us. An hour, 2 hours, up to 4-hour call, right? If you want to just dive into one specific thing. So we're always here to support you. And you can always get help for free by just posting in YC.
That's right.
Post your questions there. We are in there daily, asking questions, answering, providing resources where we can. So yeah, post there. That's what it's for.
Awesome.
All right. Take care, team.
Right.
We'll see you.